So this is Pastor Bob Bennett from Berea Baptist, who is one of our many veterans here. You guys know him because he works here and he calls you ugly all the time. All right, they're supposed to ask 3 of you, but I'll go ahead and ask several since we have the time. We're sacrificing verse time for this. All right, one thing I can never remember is what branch of the military you were in, Pastor Bob. What is that?
Okay, who would guess? Do I look like a Marine?
No.
Air Force.
Coast Guard.
Air Force.
Air
I wanted to get a little extra education.
Is that why you chose Air Force? Because they wanted
No,
to
I
educate
had a
you?
cousin in the Air Force, and he didn't give me a choice.
Oh, you signed up at the same time?
No, he was a sergeant by the time he was more like a brother. And
Oh,
they
okay.
said you should go in the Air Force, so I did.
Is that because do you not have any brothers?
I did not. He was my closest I had to a brother, yeah.
Got it. Where did you, did you serve during wartime or
No, I
peacetime?
served between Korea and Nam.
Well, can you say what decade that was for these
Well, that would
not
have been
history
in
buffs?
the early to mid-50s. So I got out actually in 62, so it'd be the mid-50s to the early 60s. So Vietnam was just starting up. We were sending people over there, but not to Nam, and getting geared up for when Nam would start coming into be not a police action, but an alt-right war.
Yeah.
But it never was. It was always a police action. I don't.
Thank God for
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
For those of you bad at math, that was about 70 years ago or so, which should tell you a little bit about Pastor Bob's age. What are some of the things you remember most about your deployment?
Well, mine was. I spent 3 years and then a little bit in England. So the most thing I did was I remember going over there. We were a base that was also part of the NATO outfit, and our base was the only base in England that was NATO base besides. So we had it was a strategic air command. We had the big bombers. And we had 30% of our aircraft and SAC in the air all the time. So that was during the Cold War, when Russia was going to wipe us out and all this other stuff that was going on. So even if they took out every aircraft we had on the ground, we still had 30% of them in the air all the time.
And the Cold War is any time between World War II and 1988 when the wall fell, right?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Right, it would have been after Korea.
Okay.
And then,
After Korea.
Yeah,
Okay.
right after Korea. They called it the Cold War then because there was no active war going on.
Yeah.
The one in fact, I met a Navy guy not long ago, and he said to me, and I had my hat on that said Strategic Air Command, and he said, "You know why we didn't go to war with Russia?" And I said, "No." He said, "Because of you guys, because they were afraid of you." So,
Deterrent.
yeah.
For those of you just arriving, we're interviewing veterans. I'm interviewing a veteran so they can know how to do it, so we can prepare for our ministry focus this month because it's on veterans.
I'm just arriving because there was a car fire on 90.
Woo! Well, I'm glad you're safe.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You were single when you were deployed, right?
I was.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were in a barracks with a bunch of other single people, probably?
A lot. Yeah. Yeah. Like we had a 60-man bedroom.
So it was a single Pringle group.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pringles hadn't been invented yet, or even chips for that matter. There's several different areas of this, but from the transitioning to civilian life, did you ever get caught breaking any rules?
Did I ever get caught breaking any rules? No, I never got caught breaking any rules.
Okay.
But for the most part, and as far as military action, I was pretty clean on that.
I think here's a beneficial question, I think, to our congregation if they heard it. Was there anyone that helped you during your transition from military to civilian life?
Yeah, Jesus Christ. You know why? Because that's when I got saved. I was unsaved the whole time I was in the military. Can I just share my testimony real quick?
Shoot.
I played rugby for 2 years in England and soccer, and a bunch of us used to go out and play against local little English bunch of guys that get together and we go play some English team just for something to do. and whoever lost bought the keg of beer. And I said I was unsaved, and so we went out and there was 4 of us in the one Volkswagen, and we were pretty well drunked up. And the guy that was driving rolled the Volkswagen. And English roads are curvy and narrow, and he went up a bank about 15 feet and rolled it over on its top, and it spun around on its top about 150 feet down the road. And fortunately, nobody got hurt, but I had stones embedded in my cheek and my ear, missed my eye. Went to the mess hall the next morning, and he said, you know what happened last night? I said, yeah, we really did a job on your Volkswagen. We called it a bug. And he said, yeah, but what else happened? I said, I don't know. He said, you realize that you and I, someplace in that spinning, switched seats. He was driving, I was in the passenger. And he said, think about it, which side did you get out on? I got out on the same side I was in, only we were on our top. So when you think about it, if I was on this seat, on your top, I'm on the other side. So we switched. I got out on the same side. So somehow in all that switching, he and I were catapulted as that went around. And it struck me, I didn't eat chow. I went right back to the barracks, and I changed into civilian clothes, and I went to the base chapel. Happened to be good, solid Bible teaching chaplain we had then, and he preached the gospel, and that's probably the first time I really heard the gospel thoroughly. And I came back, and in the meantime I was sobering up, and came back home. I rotated back to the States, and Donna, my wife's sister, lived next door to my parents, and so I saw her out working on a 55 Chevy, and I thought the Chevy was cute. But we started not dating, but communicating. I was home for 30 days. Went to Kansas. Kansas, you couldn't get the kind of European beer I was used to, so I quit drinking because it was so terrible. And I had Colonel that was on my interview for my staff sergeant position, and he said, I want to come, I taught his kids in Little League too. And he said, I want to come and take you out to dinner. I'm here for the War College, and I thought that we'd get together. And he said, but I'm not buying any booze. I said, I don't drink anymore. He said, I'll believe it when I see it. So he came and got me, we went out to dinner. He shared the gospel with me. Meanwhile, Donna was sending to me her primary Sunday school material with little notes she would write in circles, and I was reading it. And my roommate was reading it. He was a black kid that never could keep a stripe. And he'd say, let me read that when you're done. Yeah. So I wonder often after that if he got saved as well, just from that 6 months of reading Donna's. Where were we spiritually, in spiritual maturity? Third graders, And then came back and we started seeing each other, and she said to me one day, I can't keep dating you. I can't keep going out with you because you're not a Christian. And that night I had been reading through the Gospel of John. And I said, okay, Lord. She was in a little town south of Syracuse, about 2.5 hours, and I was in a raunchy $10 a night, or $10 a week room. And I was reading through it, and I said, okay, God. I didn't know the terms Lord and all that other stuff. I knew God. I said, okay, God, I just read this. I know what it's saying, but I don't know what I do next. So whatever I'm supposed to do next is what I'm doing right now. And you know what? That peace of Jesus Christ came over me immediately. I went back. Donna said, I think we're done. And she said, you're not a Christian. And I said, I think I am. She said, what happened? And I told her, and she said, maybe we better make sure of this. So a deacon came up, shared with me, and we settled that I had gotten saved, got baptized, and Don and I were legally dating.
Officially.
Yeah.
It sounds like God used several people to lead you to Christ.
I'm not too bright. It takes a lot of people to get me going.
that wasn't my implication, but yeah, okay.
No.
We know you, so we know that's true.
That's sometimes how God works. He brings incidences. I mean, my first incident in making me think was all unsaved guys. And that's what got me thinking, and then meet a saved, I'm presuming a saved preacher, and I'm down the line, so.
All right. Well, I think we have. You have a question?
real
Yeah,
quickly.
shoot. Go ahead.
So,
From the gallery.
when the first time you went to church, you said you sobered up after. Does that mean you went to church drunk?
No. I'm sorry. I went to church sober.
Okay.
In fact, we sobered up when the thing was spinning around. All of us got sober real fast.
Okay.
Yeah. No, that's when I quit drinking.
Got it.
I started to quit drinking. When I got to Kansas is when I quit drinking.
There's one more question I think that veteran related that I would be curious to know, and is it difficult to communicate to family and friends about your time in service, or maybe what it meant to you?
Well, no, because when I grew up, military was it was right after World War II, and we were still thinking we won the war and all that. The military was highly honored when I was a kid. All military.
Yeah, not like now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. All right. Well, thank you very much, Pastor
Yep.
Bob. I appreciate it, and I hope you can clap. Actually, let's go ahead and clap because I am extremely appreciative of you. And we'll honor our other veterans on next Sunday when we